right, let's just jump right into this explainer by confronting that really visceral Friday or Saturday night FOMO. You know the exact feeling. Picture this. You're sitting alone in your room, you open up Instagram, and boom, you are instantly smacked in the face with pictures of other people's squads. The clinking glasses, the massive group selfies, the huge grins, the cheesy captions. It's a remarkably heavy feeling, isn't it?
I want to ask you about that sting directly because, well, society just loves to constantly whisper in our ears that having this huge squad is the absolute peak of human existence. They are so quick to slap labels like weirdo or depressed or socially awkward on literally anyone whose phone isn't just vibrating off the desk with group chats. Honestly, it makes you feel like you're glitching out, right? Like you're somehow fundamentally broken just for enjoying a quiet night to yourself.
But actually, scratch that. The exact opposite is true. For a very specific group of people, this urge for solitude isn't a glitch. It's not a failure to launch. It is, quite literally, an evolutionary cognitive superpower. The science backs this up, showing that the solitary brain is hardwired to perceive the world on a much deeper level. So today, we are going to completely dismantle those ridiculous stereotypes about loners.
To really understand the biological evolution of social pain and why a lack of friends feels like a literal punch to the gut, we have to rewind the clock. Let's go all the way back, 200,000 years ago, straight into the prehistoric jungle. This is the era where Homo sapiens first popped up, and it's exactly where the primal instincts of the brain you are using right now to listen to this explainer were forged.
Think about the brutal reality of our biology back then. The prehistoric human was frankly incredibly weak in the wild. We had absolutely no fangs, no claws. We were remarkably slow runners, and we had this super thin skin. In a harsh, predator-filled jungle, going solo wasn't some cool lifestyle choice. It was basically signing your own death warrant. And that brings us to the core of our biological evolution. The only true superpower that helped our ancestors survive wasn't strength or speed, it was the pack. The ancient pack superpower meant you had brothers who watched your back while you slept. Getting kicked out of the group wasn't just a bummer where your feelings got hurt. No way. It was a literal death sentence because you lost your only line of defense. Because of this extreme life-or-death danger, your brain installed an incredibly powerful security measure. We call it the siren system. Modern brain scanners have revealed something absolutely mind-blowing here. When you are socially rejected, the exact same region of your brain lights up as when you physically break your leg. To our ancient primal brain, emotional isolation and physical trauma are processed as the exact same threat. So when you're alone, your brain goes into overdrive. It immediately pumps you full of stress hormones, basically screaming, "Danger, who's protecting you?" It forces you to stay on high alert. Conversely, whenever you squeeze yourself into a packed room, the brain releases biological safety hormones. Your heart rate calms down, signaling that you are protected by the herd. And to put that into perspective, this brilliantly illustrates why a staggering 90% of people desperately crave belonging to a group. They aren't just looking for fun weekend plans, They're desperately seeking biological safety. So if you're the type of person who genuinely enjoys eating alone at a restaurant and acting totally chill while doing it, you aren't a freak. You are a brilliant evolutionary exception. Which brings us perfectly to Section 1, the chemical underground war, dopamine versus acetylcholine. See, the difference between the people who panic when they're alone and you, well, it doesn't actually lie in your personality. It lies in how your brain biologically celebrates and processes different chemicals. People who love partying use crowds as a massive charging station for dopamine. That's the chemical of loud music, fast energy, and external excitement. But if you have a smaller circle, your highly sensitive brain actually gets overloaded by all that noise. Instead, you prefer the smoother, much classier substance of acetylcholine, which fuels internal peace and deep, deep focus. So when you sit completely alone and just watch the rainfall, or read a book in total silence, you aren't depressed like everyone assumes. You are actually bathing your brain in relaxation. You are getting high on an absolute focus that crowd addicts rarely, if ever, get to taste. You aren't lacking joy. You are just running on a much cleaner, premium fuel. Let's look at friendship as an investment for a second, specifically analyzing your social battery cost. The brutal reality is that socializing is incredibly expensive for your brain. Just look at how much of that energy goes directly toward the acting fee. The sheer stamina it takes to fake smiles, nod along to boring stories, and wear a social mask just to fit in. It's exhausting.
By actively avoiding this constant energy drain, you manage to escape a truly dangerous psychological trap known as the looking glass self. This wild phenomenon where crowd chasers literally define their entire identity based on the reflections and reactions of others. It is such a heavy burden to carry. They become these emotional puppets who absolutely need a crowd to laugh or need a specific number of virtual likes just to feel valuable. But when there's no mirror to lean on, you're forced to look inward. You have to heal your own wounds without leaning on a squad to validate you. And by doing this, you forge what we call absolute autonomy. Your self-esteem becomes completely immune to the quicksand of public opinion. You don't need a group to nod to know you're on the right track. You become the center of the universe you created. Now, we're all adults here, and we do have to ask a hard but gentle question. I want you to be totally honest with yourself for a second. Is this solitude truly chosen by you? Or is it because you're afraid? Because for some, past bullying or a really painful stab in the back from a supposed best friend cause the brain to automatically install a ruthless defensive formula. Humans equal pain. If you see yourself in that at all, please understand that you are not broken. You're a survivor. Your brain is literally just doing its biological duty to protect you from getting hurt again. But remember this. Solitude must be a place where you rest. It cannot be a prison that confines you. You have to use this isolation to heal rather than just running away from connection forever. All right, moving into section 2, the empathy defense shield and why the lonely are actually the most sensitive. You know, people constantly judge those who go it alone as cold, unfeeling, or arrogant. But the irony is, you don't actually have a thick skin at all. You are an emotional sponge. Your mental radar operates at maximum capacity. This means that sitting at a simple table of 6 people can turn into a full-scale social sensory attack on your nervous system. You're absorbing their resentment, their whining, the fakeness, and those judging eyes, all at the exact same time. You unconsciously suck all that toxic energy right into your body, leaving you feeling like you just fought a literal war, while everyone else just goes home totally refreshed. The reality here is you don't hate people. You're just protecting your battery because it wears out way too easily. That's exactly why withdrawing from the crowd isn't some act of arrogance. It's a mandatory biological survival mechanism. And this brings us to something fascinating, the default mode network. This is a remarkably powerful brain state that is unlocked only during absolute silence. It is literally the holy ground for peak creativity. Think about historical giants, visionaries like Isaac Newton, Nikola Tesla, Beethoven. They willingly traded fast food dopamine for this exact brain state. They used what normal people fear as boredom to spark their million-dollar ideas. So there is a massive, fundamental difference we need to establish right here. Loneliness is the painful, sinking feeling of being abandoned. But solitude? Solitude is the immense pride of daring to stand alone. While everyone else is busy chasing empty laughs and completely diluting their personalities just to fit in, you are an undiluted, perfect original mining the true, raw power of solitude. I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought as we wrap up this explainer. It's a choice, really. Are you going to keep chasing the noise? All right, let's